Manipulation is everywhere, especially in today's media. Current content creators utilize the fundamental principles of film editing, color, and music to lure society to a biased opinion. We have invited 11 subjects to participate in our experiment, which imitates the actions of today's media. Our goal for this experiment is for people to remember two things: do not believe everything you see, and do not believe everything you hear.
My name's Renee Brack. I've been a screen and media professional for around 30 years and I work part-time in education now, which is really fantastic. It's an interesting prospect when you're editing something about a colourful criminal identity like Chopper Read, how much you want to say yourself and how much you'd like to lead the audience in some ways. And I wanted the audience to be able to draw the conclusion that he might be a little crazy. But I didn't want to say that he was crazy and make the audience passive. So I spoke with the sound engineer and said, "What do you think?" And he came up with this brilliant idea, without infringing copyright of course, not to use the psycho violin, you know, that screechy sound that scares a lot of people. And so he decided to kind of play it backwards and use a couple of bars, less than 4 bars, and avoid copyright issues. And so when we layered that underneath Chopper's laugh, it had this incredible effect of producing a thought in the audience's mind. And so you don't really have to say, "Look at this guy, he's crazy," because the music helped, I suppose, manipulate the audience into thinking that.
Basically, what we're going to do today is I'm going to get you to watch 2 different clips that use the same footage, however they're both edited slightly differently to convey a different emotion and feeling. After your viewing of these 2 clips, I'm going to ask you a series of questions in relation to what you just watched, and whenever you're ready, you may begin.
Good content.
So dead. Dick.
It feels really soap opera.
Dramatic difference, man.
So not so much of a dick in the second one.
So the first question I'd like to ask you is, what did you just watch?
That's a good question. So it was 2 clips of the same scenario, just edited differently. So like,
one was to make it creepy and the other one was to make it romantic.
What were the differences between the 2 edits that you observed?
I think the difference between the 2 edits were mainly like the music, and I think there was a change in facial expression, but I'm not sure. Whereas like the first one was kind of like really creepy. The second one was really like, I don't know, drama.
The colour was different in both of them. The first one was a lot like cooler and the second one was a lot more warmer. The music as well was like a lot intense in the first one and a bit more like romantic in the second one.
Well, I don't know if I can swear, but like holy shit, like the difference between the 2, you know, being that it was the same footage, just completely edited in different ways. I mean, I think we kind of forget, you know, that colour and music and the way things are edited are so important to the plot line, because if you edit it in the wrong way, you use dark colours in a light scene, light colours in a dark scene, you know, you can give a completely different meaning to a scene that you didn't really want to, or you did and it was intentional. It's really cool.
Have you seen this before, you know, like the notion of taking clips out of context and constructing a narrative out of it?
Oh, absolutely. Far out. Only place you can get real news now is Fox News.
Oh yeah, the media takes shit out of context all the time. Like, everything you see of the Middle East these days is all manipulation. Like, everything on Fox News and like ABC, everything I think these days is like biased.
I have a lot of conversations with my mates about this, because the perpetuation of things that we see on the news, like we grew up believing the news was Bible and everything we saw on the news, you know, was important, and there's so much that goes on in the world that we don't know. but you know, you've got to play to the audience, right? You know, I think it was like Sunrise said, you know, we're not going to talk about any sad news anymore. We're just going to give you the happy stuff. And it's like, well, no, that's not. You know, we do need to know what is going on in the world, good or bad.
So, can you think of any examples of this kind of manipulation that's prevalent in today's media?
Growing up, like I used to be like quite skinny growing up. I think my body image was quite affected by the media because like on Instagram you see like you're meant to be like skinny but then you're meant to have a booty and it's like how do you get that?
Photoshop, like 98% of images are photoshopped and we don't know that, but we believe it is Bible. We need to be size 6 to be beautiful. Men have to be, you know, bulky and whatever, and it's everywhere. It really, really is everywhere.
I'll give you one example of it. In the Syrian war, they would like show photos of like an Arab and then a war, and then they're like, you know, put the two together. So I think that way they kind of manipulate things.
Well, I watched something recently that was just reporting. It was reporting about like, you know, youth and, you know, the dangers of drinking and stuff. It was very emotionally based. It was basically targeting parents about telling kids to not go out and drink. But it felt very one-sided. It didn't feel like it was a fair representation of youth in general, because I see a lot of youth doing great things.
I watched Michael Moore documentaries a while back, and I watched one in particular, Bowling for Columbine, and then I realised that it was all edited a certain way to get across his agenda. And while I don't like, I don't agree with the way gun laws are in America, I can see that he's done something to kind of get his point across because he has an ulterior motive.
Do you think people should believe everything they see in the media, and if not, why?
No, I don't think so, because they lie to us a lot. Like, I guess it sort of also depends whether it's a credible news source, but then again, a lot of news shows want to get the best story despite morale, like that movie.
Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal, and how he only uses all these, the horribleness of society, and he uses the footage to get views and gain respect from the news agencies, and that's what news likes to sell. They like to sell tragedy and gore and everything else that he shows, and I think it's sad, but it's true.
Look, I think they should trust the media because, you know, like, this is their job. This is what they do for their livelihoods. They're not going to stuff it up. You know, if they make a wrong decision, like, it's their head on the chopping block. So I think they're very thorough in their research. So yeah, I think they should trust the media in the news because that's what they do 24/7, and it's been running this way for how long? So I think we should trust the process.
Do you think the news should show everything to us or only the best parts?
I'm going to say only the best parts. I want the drama. That's all I want, just want to see the drama.
I think they should only show us the best parts or the most important parts, because a lot of us, you know, we have our daily jobs and we're often so caught up in our own lives that it's just sort of convenient for us to receive bite-sized chunks, I guess, of the main important stuff that's going around the world. And, you know, as long as we have enough to sort of be aware of what's going on, we don't really need to see like the gruesome, gritty details that might sort of bum us down and affect us in our daily lives.
Do you think it's right for the news to predominantly show us the worst things in life?
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, nice things aren't interesting. Nice things are boring. Actually, that's the one thing about country news. Country news is like the most boring thing in the world, because you go out to like Wagga Wagga or whatever, and it's like top stories at News Tonight. There was a car crash down the road, and also Jeanette's dog has turned 7, and she walks him every day. Boring. I want to hear about murder. I want to watch death. I want to watch war. I want to see rape on my news.
Has the media affected you on a personal level?
I learned a lesson many years ago. I was visiting Seoul in South Korea, and at the time, the university students there put on a bit of a protest. And it would be like as if students from, say, Sydney Uni went out onto Parramatta Road and sat down and blocked the traffic for half an hour, and the police had to come along and physically remove them from the road. So a bit of argy-bargy and a bit of violence. So that was happening in Seoul, but the media back here painted this picture as if Seoul, the capital of Korea, was in total uproar. And so my family back here was really worried about my safety. But in Seoul, we didn't even know the event was happening because it's just in one tiny little bit of the city. And that taught me a lesson of just how distorting the media can be and how we need to be so careful in how we receive things.
I actually want to portray the whole truth. I have 5 teenagers that I want to make the world a better place. And so therefore the examples that they see around them are really important. And you know, to know that people are deliberately manipulating content to affect viewers and also get ratings, it doesn't sit well with me. And people have said to me, why on earth would you study something like that if it doesn't sit well with you? And I was like, well, of course, to make change, because you know, we all individually have the power to make changes that will affect everyone. So that's how I can do it and report something different, is by having a different point of view.
So just a heads up, if you didn't know, we actually have a big twist that only the people making this documentary will know. So basically this twist will reveal to the audience that our documentary about manipulation actually manipulates the audience. So how we're going to do this is we've invited a bunch of actors to fake a lot of their responses, making our audience believe that your stage response was actually real.
I think we kind of forget, as an actor, I kind of forget, you know, that...
I think they should only show us the best parts or the most important parts.
That was really good.
That was such bullshit.
I want to see rape on my news.
Now, all right, was I speaking briefly enough? Because one of the things I could have asked you was, do you want 15, 20-second grabs? But
You just said that.
there you go, there's a manipulation. Just answer these questions in 15 or 20 seconds, Renee. Nothing else is interesting.
Like, you know, changing the storyline, taking clips out of context and creating something that it's not.
Oh, absolutely. Far out. Only place you can get real news now is Fox News. Jokes.
They should trust the media because, you know, like, this is their job. This is what they do for their livelihoods. They're not going to stuff it up. Am I convincing?
I have willingly put myself in this position and you have the editing control. So therein lies the truth. You know, you can do whatever you want and I've basically just got to suck it up.
Our goal for this experiment is for people to remember 2 things. Do not believe everything you see and do not believe everything you hear.